Hey guys, how's it going? Shmoy, aka Baby Sham 33 here. So, as you see from the screen here, the spirit given form, I did go through when I did the second path of Abyss of Legends. So, um, it's a very long path from what I counted with regards to defenders. It is the longest path of Abyss. So definitely kind of a grueling one. I did split it up over 2 days just because, well, one, I just have a lot going on, and I started the quest late in the day, and it just Abyss of Legends, it can really wear on you. So if I would recommend anybody, if you have just the time to kind of sit down there and go through it, cool. But you can start making mistakes and stuff like that. If you need to take a break, take a break. Like I said, there's no problem in just kind of splitting it up. I've seen lots of other folks. They do half one day and the next day they come back and they do the other half. But like I said, I wanted to go into over the path, who I used and what worked for me, and just kind of go through some of the fights. So let's kind of get into it. So we have Pat 2 is going to be your blue outline. And you're going to start off with Darkhawk. Uh, First of all, I brought in Void, Human Torch, Nick Fury, Aegon, and Doctor Doom. That was my cast for this path. When it comes to Darkhawk, I ended up using Void. Um, with Darkhawk, the best way to get him down, one, of course, as a tech hero, his abyss ability is every 10 crit hits, he steals your power. So that's kind of a pain in the butt in itself. The best way, that's kind of a best, pain in the butt himself. But and on top of that, just being Darkhawk, his special one, very hard to block to Dex. His special two, he goes stealth mode. So, and then if you knock him down, he has the shield mode. Um, and when he switches and at the same time when he switches from one mode to another, he has a regen because of the health pool. It's an insane regen. The best way to kind of go through this fight is if you have the spear maxed out, and you basically can make him switch those modes, and then reverse the regen, and he kills himself. Folks do this with Human Torch, by keeping those the incinerates up. I'm kind of still new to using Human Torch, and I wasn't having the best time doing this. But Void is my absolute go-to, just because one, he is he's just tried and true tested. Like nothing special. You get those debuffs on, and time it properly. You get him to regen, and he just basically kills himself with the petrified. So made sure I had my despair maxed out, and it's just kind of getting him to switch back and forth between throwing his special two to go into invisible mode, and then knocking him down so that he goes into shield mode. And I was able to get this down in one revive. It was a very nice, clean fight. But from there, we went on to Luke Cage, and Luke Cage already has the annoying ability of where he's continually going indestructible. So, it makes it, and then he has like a 5.7 million health pool, so it makes it a very long fight. And then, on top of that, you have because this is the Abyss, so you only have a certain amount of hits before, they go completely unblockable, and they shoot up to a special 3 and you're dead. So, a lot to manage. But throw on top of that the fact that Luke Cage also on a timer he gains unstoppable and unblockable um, buff. This is why a lot of people have used like She-Hulk or Stealth Spider against him, so you're not worried about the unstoppable. However, using Aegon, you know, if you want to cancel out that unstoppable and indestructible, you need to basically intercept him, and then that turns it off. Sometimes this is very frustrating just because of how the AI is specifically tuned for this fight. Uh, Sometimes it just goes once it hits that mode, it becomes very passive at times, where it'll literally just kind of dash back, and it'll just sit there waiting for you to charge in, or you know, there's times that it charged in, and I'm looking to go for that intercept, and then it stops on a dime, and as I am basically anticipating the dash in, he stops on a dime. I throw an attack, it whiffs, and then he hits me, and basically you're dead. Uh, um, the like every hit is a stun the way the RNG seems. So it was a very difficult. It was a very long fight. Uh, I had a few runs where went really well, and you know unfortunately I didn't have like a combo protection on my Aegon, and I'd lose my streak. It was just like I said, it was a very frustrating and long fight. Whomever designed this fight has no morals whatsoever. It's one of the worst fights in Abyss, so just be prepared for that. But that being said, we move on to Dormammu. Dormammu, a straightforward fight. Just dealing with his annoying. If you get a buff, once the buff ends, you have take that degen. For Mystic Heroes, if you get like 10 buffs or something like that, he places a stagger on you. The next Mystic Champs places a stagger on you, and then the next buff that activates, basically you're gonna degen to death. But I used Human Torch here. Human Torch deals very well with Mystic Heroes. Was pretty straightforward fight. Had no real issues with him whatsoever. And coming off of that Luke Cage fight, honestly, I needed some easy wins. Same thing with Mephisto. Human Torch. Turn on your pre-fight abilities. Very easy, straightforward, no problem fight. Void also works for this fight, but Human Torch, one shot. Captain Marvel, since they fixed her, how she interacts against Mystic Heroes. Doctor Doom, nice, easy one shot. You get down to Ghost, and with Tech Champs, as I said, they have that Abyss ability where they, after like 10 crits, they steal your energy. So you just kind of have to manage the baiting out the special attacks. But used Aegon here, build up my combo meter. Outside of you, of course, you run out of hits and stuff like that, and you're building up your Aegon. You just have to be, like I said, cautious with managing the, when she steals your health, when she steals your energy. So just kind of baiting out those specials. Takes some time, but not a difficult fight. Down to Iron Man Infinity War. Same thing with the ability of stealing the health, making sure that you're watching his armor ups. It's just a very long, sluggish fight. He's throwing a lot of specials, and I mean it kind of really wears at you. Continually swiping back, and I mean at one point I just started blocking because I was exhausted, and the chip damage can really get at you and wear you down. So not the most pleasant fight. For this, once I got him down to about 20%, I switched over and I used Void. I could have probably got him down further with Aegon, but like I said, I switched over and I used Void. and I got that 20% off very easy. When he gets to that final 10% phase with Void because of the Petrify, you're not worried about his power gain. At that point, all you're doing is reparrying and throwing heavy attacks, or or when he throws his heavy attack, you know you you wait and you get your in with your own heavy attack. But nice, straightforward. I love finishing off the 20% mark here with Void. Just works really well for this fight. We have Joe Fixit up next, and Joe Fixit was actually an easier, straightforward fight than the first time that I fought him. He like kept on proccing hearts and getting those massive regens. This time I used Aegon. By this time I had like 1,000 combo built up. It was just a nice, easy, straightforward fight. He got a few power gains or something like that, and I threw my special three, kind of canceled that. But straightforward, nice, um, nice fight. Was very happy. Got down to Mordo. Mordo, you have his power gain. Then you have the Mystic Abyss ability. It can be a very, it can be a difficult fight, and if you're not, cautious with, if you parry him, making sure that you find the right time to kind of go in and, um, you know, to counterattack. I did try using Human Torch a little bit, but it's kind of having problems keeping those heat charges up. It wasn't the most comfortable fight for me. I said maybe just part, being new with using Torch and trying to use him more and more. But it just wasn't a very comfortable fight for me. So I ended up, in the end, I used Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom, the heavy attacks, you can get the passive stun, and you can, his medium attacks with the shock, you can then heavy get the passive stun. That stagger puts it on him, and it stops his power gain. You get the power gain, just start throwing some special threes. It makes the fight very easy and very manageable. That's who I used, and it worked out very well. We have Deadpool up next. This for Human Torch is like a fantastic fight. You basically reverse all of his regen, and he's dead very fast. I had not a problem. Nice one shot. But that just sets you up for Korg. Korg. Korg is already not the the funnest fight to have. Um, in Abyss, he has, for skill champions, he has like 100% ability accuracy. So I've seen folks use Aegon here, um, just using light attacks. It I tried it once. They of course turn off dexterity. I did not turn off my dexterity. Um, yeah, I tried it once and I just did not have a good time. I dashed in once for a medium hit, and that pretty much, like, the one medium hit killed me right away. So I went straight back to Doom. I stuck with Doom. His hits are energy based, so you're not worried about any 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 thorns damage from your medium hits and so forth. So I was trying to find, like with Korg, I'm not the best at dodging his special one. Sometimes I get it, but it's not consistent. Like, I'll dash back, and for somehow, like, I'll evade the first two shots, and then the third hits me. And what I found with Korg and Abyss, like, every time he hits you, with one of those shots, you're stunned. My limber was maxed, so it wasn't a problem. It was just more annoying than anything else. Um, took me a few. It took me a while to really kind of get a good rhythm for it. I did try you going through a special three, to drain his power, but then sometimes I found like my special one, I'd hit it off, and like, because of the ability accuracy, I wouldn't drain his power, and he'd be at a special three, and I'm dead. So what I did is every now and then I did hit a special three, but I would do it when his power was maybe closer to like 2 bars or something like that, or just a little bit under a bar of power. So I'm not worried about pushing him to a special three no matter what happens. Just so I'd have a fury, and then I would try to get to the point that I could hit him with, say, a special two when his rock stacks weren't up, so I could get the incinerate damage. And that was the best way that I found to really get him down. It was hitting him with a special two when his rock stacks weren't up, and doing that incinerate damage. But like I said, for me, that was the best method that I found. As we head down to Taskmaster, Taskmaster is interesting because basically, um, from your basic attacks, you have like you have reduced damage, but as your combo meter goes up, your special attack has like double damage. Or I should say, the further your combo meter goes up, the more damage your special attack goes. So I was using Aegon for this fight, and once I was up to like 70 or 100 combo, um, you know, I had special attacks were doing 20 and 30 and 40,000, damage. It was like fantastic once you have that combo meter like up. Um, I was doing a lot of damage with Aegon. So outside of that, with with Taskmaster, you really want to kind of push him to a special two. Um, you know, the special ones, it definitely can be evade, but it's not the easiest thing to do consistently, and especially you've been going through Abyss for a while and you're a bit tired. It's just better to kind of push him to a special two. Sometimes played along, sometimes he didn't. The chip damage, it eventually it eventually gets you down, but overall, like I said, not a bad fight. From there, we go on to Modok. With Modok, I did start out using Nick Fury. Um, Kind of had a bad first start. He had a special one, and as I was going into my real Nick Fury stage, um, like he tossed it, and I guess I dexed back too late, and it counted it as a block. And his special one basically reversed all of my help from when I went, the heal from the real Nick Fury stage, because you heal back up and then you start to slowly degenerate. Well, he reversed all of it, and I was like dead right away. So that kind of sucked out to start off with. I said I started with Nick Fury. I was like, all right, well, let me try to. I'll just take my time, and I'll get my real Nick Fury stage, and I'm in my Nick Fury stage. I'll just get in some heavy attacks. I'll get those bleeds up. I'll get to the point where basically I'm unblockable, and I'll just do the damage with the bleed and so forth. Um, and for some reason, it was just having a difficult time. One, you're kind of fighting, you know, at that 30% health, and just the chip damage I was taking. Uh, I just had a rough go at it, kind of getting to that point where, like, all right, I'm unblockable, and I can just kind of wail on him, make sure I dash back in time to avoid a special one, and so forth. And it wasn't going as smooth as I would like, with um, Mr. Big Head here, the Modoc. The basically the abyss thing is he has you get a power sting whenever he gains like a bar. Whenever you gain like a bar of power, you get a power sting on you. um so you have to be careful to kind of get it off of you before um before it before it stuns you, and of course you take damage back if you throw a special. With Nick Fury, this is perfect because in his real Nick Fury stage, you can't stun him. But like I said, however, I was having a hard time with Nick Fury, and I decided to try Aegon, and Aegon absolutely wrecked him. Like I, you know, between the unblockable, the ability accuracy, like I mean, even when I had sometimes the power sting didn't get on me, but even when I threw a special, like honestly, the power sting wasn't doing that much damage anyway, and Aegon was just perfect for this fight. Like I said, I had no problems whatsoever. None of the problems I was having using using Nick Fury. So Aegon definitely fantastic for this fight. Then we go down to Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck, he starts off with 30 indestructible charges, which once again it sucks because of the way the abyss works and your hit count. But if you heavy attack him, for each heavy attack, he loses a charge, or if you hit him with a crit, he loses a charge. So with Aegon, this is perfect because he's critting like crazy, and he has that heavy attack with like 3 hits. So for one heavy attack, you're usually taking off about 6 charges. Um, had a real nice smooth fight, not a problem. Like funny enough, I got him down to like that 60% mark, and I was going to use I was like, by that time I switched over to Void, and I was like, okay, well, I can just reverse his regen, and the one time instead of proccing a regen, he like procs the Thunderquack, and I'm watching for the regen, and I didn't even realize that the Thunderquack was on me and like eating away at my energy, um, before I parried him and stopped the processing. But other than that, I just I ended up going back to Aegon first to fight, and it was a pretty easy, smooth fight. No real problems. Hyperion is just a standard fight with Mystic with Cosmic Heroes. If you don't put a stagger or a nullify on them, put a stagger on them that after like 15 seconds they gain an unstoppable buff or something like that, or 30 seconds they get an unstoppable buff. So Doctor Doom is perfect for this fight. You're gaining like tons of power, and from because of every time that you nullify one of his power gain, and it's just kind of like rinse and repeat with special threes. Nothing really special, just standard Hyperion fight. Same thing with the champion. Um, Standard champion fight. Doctor Doom putting up those staggers. You're stopping his abilities from proccing. He is just one of the best counters for that fight. Like I said, no real details to go into. Nothing really special about it. Like I said, you just have to make sure that you do get those staggers or nullifies so that they don't go unstoppable. But like I said, outside of that, very easy fight. Then we're going to go up to Green Goblin. Green Goblin is just a crappy fight. Um, your damage is reduced by like, he has like a shield buff that can't be nullified. So your damage is like reduced by like 50% from physical and energy attacks. So it's not like, you can switch over and use Doom or something like that. And for each crit, like the damage is reduced, so you can't use Aegon to just kind of plow through him. I ended up using the best for this fight is Nick Fury, um, because you have that high bleed damage, and what I ended up I had to like change my masteries up a little bit because I was having a really tough time doing this fight. I didn't have um, my um, my bleed mastery maxed out. So I had to go and switch it up and max that out so that I have the extended amount of bleed time and then the damage. And that made the fight much more manageable. But of course, you're having the chip damage from when he's throwing his special one. When he throws his special two, sometimes that can be dicey dodging his special two. And there's more than a few times where I got clipped by his board. Sometimes it's like questionable. Like you'll dodge an attack. It says dexterity, but somehow you end up getting hit. And I was having a lot of that. Um, this is like a 5.7 million fight, health fight. So it's yeah, it's a very tough fight, and was did not have the most pleasure kind of going through it. After I kind of got the hang of it, I did have some good runs, but it's a very difficult fight, and you need somebody that does like a high amount of damage over time um, to do this fight. I'm very happy that this is the only place that he shows up. Like I reviewed the map to see if there was any other place, any other time that you had to fight him, and I'm very happy to say that this is the only time that I will have to fight him. So that was a really crappy fight. Um, then we're going to go over to Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister with his regen and so forth. Human Torch works out very well for this fight because as he's regenning, he's actually if you have those, if you keep your temperature up, and you have those incinerates on him when he would regen, it's basically it's reversed and he's killing himself. Got caught a few times. At the same time trying to keep his your temperature up. So got through in a it wasn't terribly difficult, but maybe 3 or 4 revives. Some you know just some errors. Was exhausted trying to clear through this, especially after that Green Goblin fight. The fatigue of that fight was it kind of it was difficult. And Green Goblin was actually the first fight of this morning that I did, and for that to be the first fight, yeah, it was a terrible time. Um, yeah, it was just a terrible time. But from there, we went to Punisher 2999, and I did not like this fight. Um, it's not so much that Punisher is a terribly difficult fight. I used Aegon for this. Um, yeah, it's not that he's just terribly complicated, but his special ones and his special two, it's a lot of chip damage. So even with a special one, and he starts to build up those overclock charges or whatever. Um, it just really adds up to the point that it's like like I said, just the chip damage, it really wears you down. So not an enjoyable fight. Just felt kind of cheap. Loki, for him, if you're close to him, your power drains, and if your power drains to like zero, you take a huge amount of damage back. So you can't really just throw specials willy nilly. You always have to make sure that like for Aegon, I used Aegon for this fight. When you're throwing your specials, like if I only threw as like a special two because I had to have that bleed damage. When you throw the special two, make sure that you're close to a special three, so that for the time that you're close to him, you don't drain down to zero. Made made some errors in this. Just like I said, just these fights just kind of really were at you, but um, another high health pool fight. Even if you play absolutely perfect, and for the most part, I played very well against Loki. You're just kind of used to him, but it will take you some revives just because you can't. His health pool is so high. You can't get through this fight all in one amount of hits. Um, and then we come up to Aegon, and as a skill hero, he completely shuts down your ability accuracy, except for when you're using specials. So it's like a 2.7 million fight, health pool fight. I used Aegon against him, but still, like I said, it takes some time, just because of the ability accuracy. I really kind of throw special twos so I can get the bleed damage and just kind of max out the amount of damage that you can do. We have Invisible Woman, definitely a Nick Fury fight. Because once you go on, once you go unblockable and so forth, you're not worried about her invisibility at all. You just kind of attack at will. Um, Her shield, though, sometimes you're not doing as much damage as you'd like. I mean, every now and then, if you can get the deep wounds, um, the internal wounds on her, then at the same time, you're ending your hits with a light attack. You're gonna kind of get a nice massive amount of bleed, taken for like 3,400 or something like that. But outside of that, because of her shield, like I said, it's a slow fight, and it does take some time. That's the best I can say about this. When it comes to Cull Obsidian, is a very easy fight. Basically, once he has he throws his special one, and for each of his buffs that you nullify, he he loses like 50 something thousand health. So basically, you just want him to throw his special one, and then using Doom, you just throw your special one, and each one of those hits will nullify one of his buffs, and it takes him down. When I did this fight, I didn't realize that my boost had fallen off. I didn't realize my boost had fallen off. So this actually, um, by the end of this fight, he went, he shot up to a special three because I had gone through all of my hits, and yeah, I revived Doom, and I got him down in like one special one. So could have been like a one shot probably if I was boosted, but Club City, a nice straightforward fight. You just need to let him use a special one, and then you nullify those buffs. Um, any hero with a good nullify ability will basically make that into a cakewalk. Then, of course, you have the collector himself, and well, that's just a collector fight. I won't even, it's already over 30 minutes long. I won't even discuss the collector fight because you guys have seen it, heard others talk about it. He goes um, through his different phases, and it's a it's a unit eater. That's all I can say about it. But that was my Pat 2. It is 23 fights. Like I said, it's the longest of um, any other Pats. Um, the worst two fights, of course, Luke Cage. And of course, unfortunately, Luke Cage is someone that I have to fight another two times. Um, but the Luke Cage and definitely the Green Goblin fight were the absolute worst. Um, Korg took a while to kind of adjust to him for the best way to fight him, um, but wasn't like I said, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but definitely Luke Cage and Green Goblin, those just kind of drained the life out of you. But like I said, that's Pat 2. If you have any questions, definitely um, you know um, ask. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. Um, as always, thank you so much for your support. Please hit the like button, and if you're not already, subscribe and turn on notification for future videos. As always, thank you so much. Have a blessed day.